Season 1 of Netflix's hit show Stranger Things came out back on July 15th, 2016. It's 8 episodes long and follows the story of 12-year-old Will Byers, played by Noah Schnapp, living in the small town of Hawkins, Indiana back in 1983, who ends up vanishing after having a run-in with an unseen monster on his bike ride home one night after a long day of Dungeons & Dragons fun with his friends. So this sets Will's mother Joyce, the chief of police Jim Hopper, and Will's three best friends Mike, Dustin, and Lucas out on a mission to try to investigate his mysterious disappearance, hopefully find a way to bring him back home, and possibly even face some more stranger things in the process. Now, before we get any farther into the actual plot and characters, let's take a moment to talk about the overall caliber of the show itself. Obviously, as I mentioned, it does take place in the 1980s, and what were popular back in the 80s? That's right, sci-fi and horror films, which is exactly what Stranger Things is. It's very much in every possible way a love letter to 80s culture in general, even at some points feeling exactly like a Steven Spielberg film with a Stephen King plotline. But it never once feels forced or like Stranger Things is copying anything. It's just sort of one giant nostalgia fest from start to finish in the best way possible that you'll actually learn to care about thanks to the excellent writing and direction from the Duffer Brothers and the unbelievably realistic acting from everyone across the board. It definitely is a stylized show though for sure, but I personally love the aesthetic and the atmosphere that it goes for, and its style never once gets in the way of the overall substance throughout either. There's a ton of emotional depth and weight to be found here in every plot line and every character, and the intensity starts super early on with Joyce Byers, played by Winona Ryder, and Jim Hopper, played by David Harbour, slowly going crazier and crazier looking for Will, who we soon find out is in another version of our world, but just a very decrepit, bloody, and disgusting version of our world called the Upside Down. Inside here lives a monster known as the Demogorgon, which is actually what scared Will at the beginning of the show, and the Upside Down itself is actually connected to a government agency hidden right inside of Hawkins that not only dabbles in portals to the Upside Down, but also experiments on children, all linking back to MK Ultra. Yes, like the actual real-life illegal mind control the CIA was doing back in the 1950s to the early 70s. Yeah, I'm telling you guys, this show gets pretty deep. There's one point when Mike, played by Finn Wolfhard, contacts Dustin and Lucas, played by Gaten Matarazzo and Caleb McLaughlin, respectively, and they all meet up to look for Will in the woods at night on their own. And they do end up finding a kid out there, it just turns out not to be Will. Instead, this is where we meet my personal favorite character and the person I've been holding off talking about up until now, 11, played by Millie Bobby Brown. This girl is just fantastic. At the time of filming season 1, she was just 12 years old, but I swear she has the acting capability of a full-grown adult. It's actually unbelievable. Honestly, all the child performances here are off the charts and deserve credit. They are all so funny and likable, but 11 is just incredible. She's a very quiet character, only saying short phrases every so often, and through flashback sequences, we actually learn that she was one of the kids experimented on in Hawkins' lab, and because of that she's actually gained insane telekinetic powers, and over time in the show, we get to learn that her powers actually have a connection to the Upside Down, and to a gate that can help bring Will back to the surface, making her an absolutely vital member to the team. 11 really is the star of the show in my opinion, and she deserves all the praise she gets. She truly gives a one-of-a-kind performance that is just downright captivating and unbelievably memorable. And while 11 is by far the best in my book, my other personal favorite characters that I just have to shout out would definitely have to be Mike, for one, because he's wisecracking and funny and he's always got Will's back and never gives up looking for him. Steve, because his arc from high school jock bully to awesome nail-covered baseball bat swinging monster killer is just downright hilarious and super cool. And finally, Jonathan, because I really related to his shut-in, lonesome demeanor, and I really felt for his constant struggles throughout the show and his never-ending will to keep moving forward. But to keep it honest with you guys, there's just not one single bad character in the entire show at all. Characters change constantly, but they're always consistently likable. The casting is fantastic, the writing is believable, and you can really just buy that these events are happening to these characters. They all just play their parts so unthinkably well, it's crazy. I truly just don't have any negatives to mention about this show whatsoever. I guess there are some questions left unanswered this season, but there's more seasons that answer those questions, so I can't really complain about that. Sometimes the show may feel very Steven Spielberg or Stephen King inspired, but I kind of took that as an homage to that era of film and literature, so I don't really see that as a negative either. I seriously just have positive things to say here. Stranger Things is just a fantastic show that I just have an absolute blast watching, and I highly recommend checking it out if you haven't before. It truly is amazing, and it easily takes the cake as the best Netflix original show ever made by far. And that, in short, is why I believe Season 1 of Stranger Things deserves a heartfelt, powerful 5 out of 5 rating. A+.